Hi there. I didn't think I would be filming a second video, but here we are. A little bit different setup today. This nice plant I'll be massaging. And let's talk about why, in my personal opinion, fashion content is predominantly pretty bad for personal style, and even not for personal style. And if you watch my last video, I think, and if you connect the dots, it's pretty abundantly clear. Personal style really thrives off the fact that you can experiment and learn things for yourself without external influence. Most content that I found on YouTube, not really on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, but I imagine it's similar, if not worse. But most content on YouTube focuses on pickups and recommendations and 10 tips as to how you will look, 10 tips on how to look better. I think that's terrible. Please do not watch that content. Here's why. It spoon feeds you a very specific perspective that somebody's obviously curated based on some arbitrary method. And I think that's really bad because they're feeding this information to you like it's gospel, like it's the true gold standard. And that really stops you from being able to explore and innovate and think about new ideas. Let's take an example. For me, currently, I've been thinking about specifically things that I can put around my neck. So, for example, I have this jacket here, has very interesting design, this cool neck flap, and as you can notice, there are basically two layers to this jacket, this outside hood and this inside stand collar. And this neck design is why I bought this jacket. And how did I get into neck design? Well, I looked at a puffer jacket on somebody and said, wow, I think that looks really cool. Let me try a puffer jacket on myself with the stand collar. I really liked it, but I didn't like some aspects of the puffer jacket. And so my interest morphed over time as I gradually thought about fashion and came to this understanding that, wow, I would love a jacket that looks like it has multiple jackets in it and a really cool collar design. And that's how I came to this really cool looking jacket. That's a great reflection of my personal interpretation of what neck design should look like. And I think that that level of analysis, that level of depth, is simply impossible when you have people telling you 10 tips on what you should wear. And so for me, I really think that those videos are entirely unproductive. They'll give you a brand or a set of brands. Like, I know Uniqlo is a really, really popular one that people just recommend. It's like, okay, but why? Oh, they have good quality basics, blah, 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 blah. By making that decision for you, you never really get the chance to interpret, to think, to understand what you value. They impose value onto you rather than you determining value for yourself. And I think that's the biggest problem. The other problem with this content is that when you see so many people buying so much stuff, it makes you feel like you need to buy a lot of stuff, which I feel inhibits your ability to just sit and think about purchases. For me personally, I think that it is really important to wait 3 to 5 months thinking about an idea before you purchase something that has to do with that idea. Otherwise, you could regret your purchase and waste your money. I'm not saying that fashion will be without wasting money. I think everybody's going to waste money at some point in time, buy something that's a little bit suboptimal. But I think that this can be largely avoided by not watching these pickup videos and these videos that recommend so many brands. Because to an extent, we trust these people. We think that they're more correct. And there's simply no reason as to why. However, there is a certain type of fashion content that I do think is extremely productive. And that is content like this. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. A bunch of people have been doing this way before me. And a bunch of people have made similar claims to this. But I thought I could give my own spin to it as somebody who's a little bit new to the fashion game and has gone through all of the steps of watching the pickup content, watching the brand reviews, watching this and that, and really just realized this stuff is all nonsense, doesn't really help you. So what is that content exactly? Well, I like to put under the umbrella of philosophical fashion content, more meta level fashion content. And what exactly is that? That's content focused on how you should approach fashion. So for example, thinking about cuts, thinking about layering, thinking about accessories, thinking about the fundamental aspects of fashion. What makes a good outfit, right? It's not telling you you need to do X to make a good outfit. It's telling you you should think about these things. It tells you the rules. It sets the pace. It sets the sort of standard for what you should look at. And I think that is very productive because it gives you a blank slate for which to work with. If you don't know the rules, if you don't know everything, all the variables that you can manipulate, you're not going to do a very good job. So I think this content is incredibly, incredibly valuable. But not just this content about cuts and styles and colors, color theory, color analysis, all these basic things, but also content on how you should consume fashion, how you should look at personal style, what it means to have personal style, these meta level questions in fashion. I feel like that content is incredibly productive. And no matter where you are in your fashion journey, it will be at least somewhat helpful. However, there is certain content that I think you are meant to graduate out of. You eventually, after you hear the rules enough, end up learning them. You end up developing. You end up becoming a better stylist for yourself. You end up starting to understand, oh, I like this more than this, like these colors, I like the way in which this goes together, I like these fabrics, I like the way they feel on me, I feel good about these things. And in that sense, you do sort of end up taking off those training wheels of this philosophical content in fashion. That being said, this philosophical content in fashion is incredibly, incredibly important. And I think another better way to sort of consume fashion beyond just this philosophical content is by looking secondhand, which I think is incredibly sustainable and is better for your wallet, and by just observing people. I think when we sort of put ourselves in the box of fashion creators who more often than not clearly have an agenda behind what they're saying, they're not just making benign statements. There's intention, there's purpose behind their actions. They may be sponsored. They may have deals going on behind the scenes. When we just look at people on the street, all of that goes away. All of our assumptions on how credible said person is go away. We're just looking people for the clothes they wear. And I think that is incredibly productive because it really does give us the inspiration and the motivation to try new things. When we completely close ourselves off, I think that's incredibly unproductive. But there are certain ways in which we can engage that are very valuable. To delve a little bit deeper into the secondhand clothing, thrift stores in person, I have been liking them a lot more than I've been liking Grailed and Depop and online sources. The reason as to why is because pictures on these websites can be deceiving. So I think that in person it's really better to feel and touch the fabrics. But both of these can be a lot better for trying to develop personal style. There isn't as strong of an influence that these pieces will have on you because they're not being backed by somebody who you think might have credibility. You're able to freely interpret them. You're able to freely work with them and think about how they incorporate into your vision of what you think looks cool. And that, I believe, is the ultimate answer, to focus on this more philosophical content. And then, when trying to understand how you should consume further, to just look around you, to people watch, if you will, and to go to secondhand stores, whether they be online or in person. So yeah, that's what I found most interesting to talk about today. And thank you for watching.